Good morning, this is Marcy Curth on GROR model, Gradual Release of Responsibility, and my class is EDU 513, Models of Teaching for Dr. McVeigh, and I am going to make a presentation today based on this style of learning, and it is a model where the students gradually accept responsibility for their learning as they experience the presentation, and this occurs through gradual giving of them the information, presenting it, and having them interact with it through active engagement in group cooperative learning as well as individual projects. My presentation is examples from 3 of my actual online lessons I have taught with my co-teachers Tony Jones and Christina Hayes. The research-based strategies that are included are summarizing and note-taking, reinforcing effort and providing recognition, homework and practice, non-linguistic representation, cooperative learning, and also I have dramatic action you'll see as well. This is an example of a slide that style that we are required to use at PA Cyber Charter. Notice it is a PowerPoint presentation, of course. And on every slide, I always indicate our math day. You see this is March 9, 2011. It's a PSSA review day. And every single day of my classes I've taught since August 30th have this on it, and that is a PSSA question. This particular question of the day is, which of the following items weighs approximately 1 pound? A television, B, an adult cat, C, a feather, or D, a loaf of bread. The students then send me a note regarding which choice they think is correct, and then we do have them vote as a group which one they think is correct, and they send me a note, and they also vote by showing me emoticons if they think the rest of the students have. We always have kind of a group vote, in other words, on the answer. In this particular case, of course, D, a loaf of bread, would be the answer. We do encourage our students as soon as they come into class to summarize and do note-taking. These two tools allow our students to identify and understand most important concepts that we introduce. And we also have them use a technique where we divide the page in half. One half are the notes while the other half is the actual problem written down in steps. The format follows with several recent lessons. So here's an example of what I actually have them use every day. How do you solve a word problem? You see the steps are there for them: read, plan, solve, and check. And I do have exactly what they do for you under the answers. For the students, there is no, obviously where the answers is written, that's a blank space, and they've already been taught the concept of how to solve a word problem by reading, and we reinforce that actually every day as we work through our lessons. Here's another example, one we had, where what type of object is in the picture? A, cone, B, prism, C, sphere, or D, pyramid. I state after the homework review has gone on, what I do next is actually state the objective for today, as that is very important for them and for me, so that they know that we are actually I'm very involved, have them involved in understanding why they're here today in class and what they're up to. So today, and this particular objective was we will solve word problems using steps and involving equal groups of multiplication, and also to review for PSSA testing, because one of the things that's important for them at this time of year is getting ready for that big test, and it's the first time for 3rd grade that they have ever taken any kind of test. I think it's important to notate that as well. Here you'll see a slide I use with using steps to solve a word problem. This is an example where a fern costs $6. How much do 5 ferns cost? Note that we have read, plan, solve, and check. Each step for solving word problem is listed there, and the students do use those steps and the format that I showed before to actually record as they work through them. They have that sent to them. I can actually send any document I choose to the students as soon as they enter class, and I do so each day. We have something that we send to them that they actually record on then, and we do collect those on occasion. I have them send them back to me through email just to see how they're doing with the process. In addition, we see them use the very same format I showed before with actually in group learning as well. Here's another sample of problem-solving strategy, acting it out, or making a model. Note that we're using the same exact format with read, plan, and then they solve, and then they check. And I also want to note on this page that this is nice because actually having them create representations for things, acting out or making a model for their learning, which I encourage them to do because it's so important to them. The non-linguistic representation is a format that allows students to check off which steps they have accomplished as they engage in the steps of solving word problems. I believe in using non-linguistic representations. I do all the time. We use pictographs, we use pictures, we do graphs, we use many different kinds of models. Here's the actual one that we use, representation that we use for solving the word problem. As you see, the steps are there: read, plan, solve, and check, with blanks for their answers. The students we actually have a checking tool where they check off each step as they go through it and record the answer. And what's kind of fun for us, another thing we do with this is actually have the students kind of quiz each other about it, like how did you do it, how did you solve. The biggest thing for me in teaching math is not having the students necessarily get the right answer, although that's a bonus. What's more important to me is that they learn why they chose like how they planned it, in other words, the thinking behind it, how they planned it, how they solved it. And so when it comes to checking for my students, that becomes really second nature and easy for them because they always, honestly, most of the time do get the correct answer because they have taken time to plan and then to solve. I thought this was a nice example of one of the mind builders that we use in class. I have these every session. We have a mind builder. This particular one you see is across the pond, help Freddy Frog across the river. Freddy can only hop on numbers that have 4 as a factor. He can jump up, down, left, or right. He cannot jump over lily pads. Show the path Freddy can hop. And this is just requires a higher level of thinking for them. It's not just knowing the facts. They have to be able to take it a step further and apply them. And for many of the students, honestly, that's a step up for third graders to be able to do that. I always, when they first were presented this type of work, it was quite a challenge to them. Now I find that most of them do a very nice job and don't have any difficulty popping into going through the across the river or whatever particular mind boulder I'm using that day. I also try to use pictographs. You see notated here for this problem. Andrea bought 3 books. You see 3 books there and a stapler. How much did she spend it all? Most of the students actually then write the numbers right on the actual books and the stapler, for example, so that they can then complete the problem successfully. Note that I do use pages. This is page 171 in their textbook. We actually have to refer to their textbook as well. Our curriculum is Calvert, and that requires us to follow that curriculum as parents are following not only what we're saying online, but also they want to be on the page with the child. And that's a part of this that I should mention that's very important, and particularly for our third grade students for virtual classroom, is that the students are with their parents. They are actively engaged in the student with their learning, and they are able to then be more successful, of course, as the parents are going through this as well. Unfortunately, even as young as third grade, I do have some of my students whose parents are not as involved, frankly. I am simply the one who is, and my 2 co-teachers are working with me, really are working all the time to make sure each child is engaged in this process of learning. Every day we do have students work cooperatively in their breakout groups. They are put into groups of 3 or 4 students, which we have found leads to sharing and effective problem solving. And some of the places we have them go, we actually have them do problems as you've seen. I've tried to show you some examples of what we do with our slides and, in my group. Another one of the strategies I use in my classroom are reinforcing effort and providing recognition. We consistently recognize student achievement by using tools that we have on Illuminate to show the students has met the standard set for in these lessons, following the steps for solving word or open-ended questions. The tools include smiley faces, emoticons. There are also reinforcement tools in the online games where students practice word problems. Some of the emoticons that we use, there's a thumbs down that's real cute. There's a blueberry, we call it a blueberry face, smiley face. Of course, we have a green check and a red X. And I use these all intermittently, even though the thumbs down, I'm sure, is to indicate students don't agree. Sometimes I just use that one to see if everybody's on course with me and staying with me. The hardest thing about virtual classroom teaching is that you are not seeing those children, so you really don't know if they're at their computer unless you are actively engaging them in something. So hence why I always have them in and out of breakout groups. I have them showing emoticons on a fairly regular basis, especially with third graders. I have them voting on an answer. I have them, and at the same time, what's fun, a fun way to use the emoticons is just like in a regular classroom, you might have kids give a thumbs up, or you might have them, clap for the kids. We actually have clapping. Of course, it's silent clapping. The kids can use that as well. And we actually show emoticons to show agreeing, or we show affirmation of a student with clapping and all of those things. Another thing that one of the methods I use is homework and practice. The examples of homework for these sessions are visiting the website studyline.com and solving word problems for 30 minutes. We also assign a poster that shows the steps for problem solving. Throughout the year, I actually assign many different types of homework. Examples are, one of the things I do is have the students go out actually into nature, and maybe a recent one was we're just going through geometry as well. I had the students go out and see how many different triangles they could see in a 15-minute walk. I had them write down the number. I had them draw the pictures for me. I had them identify whether they were a right triangle and so on, and give those details for me, and then send that to me, scan it, and put it on a Word document, scan it, and send an email. As you can hear by what I'm saying to you, for someone that is 8 years old, it's pretty remarkable the level of skill that these students acquire at a very young age in terms of just the technology involved. Needless to say, the parents do help them, but most of my students by this time of year, and of course this is March, they have all of those abilities on their own now. They are actually able to use all that sophisticated equipment. And how amazing is that when you think of how many adults today still cannot scan a document and send it through an email? So pretty amazing when you think of a student at the level I'm teaching being able to do that. It always excites me that we're able to accomplish so much at such a young age. And I do believe that it is not harmful for them. Rather, I think it just enhances their life skills for their future. Just how dynamic will these students be when they're ready to go to college? This is an example of a website that I have the students visit. You see, it's www.multiplication.com, and there's just amazing things on those websites. I use those websites. Actually, we go into the websites in class, and so it's kind of fun. We can go on any website we want in class. As you know, I've taken my students on field trips to like Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade site and that kind of thing. We've gone on sites for that. I take them on, honestly, just hundreds of sites where we actively explore during the day in our classes. Now, I only teach one class because actually my job is as a lead team captain, so most of my job is staff supervision. But in this teaching I do for 45 minutes, I always have my kids, I try to keep them actively engaged by doing things like this, and that means sometimes visiting websites like this one, and actually having them go out as well. So one of the things my students can do, I'm going to show you another one here. Tony's Tire Shop is a really cute one. They all like that. The GROR model asks you to always have things brought to a point where students are seeing that they are having closure on their learning of the day. And on the virtual classroom, we actually have a slide that's called closure, as you see here. And I always restate for them, today we solved word problems involving equal groups of multiplication. What are the steps for solving word problems? And they usually send me a note. And also, what's really cool, and I guess I haven't mentioned so far, is that one of the neat things we can do is give students a right to talk. I can have up to 6 students speaking at once, and I often do. I'll click on 6 different mics, have them talk with me. I'll have them share answers, kind of have conversations back and forth, and we learn that way as well. As you can see in this particular problem, the answer would be B: read, plan, solve, and